Mr. Jeffries for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your continued leadership on this important issue. And I also thank Ranking Member Buck for his continued work and partnership to try to work through these issues, not as Democratic issues or Republican issues, but as American issues, to try to resolve on behalf of everyday Americans and the American consumer. Let me ask first, Michael Needler. You testified, I believe, that grocery store conglomerates have used the pandemic, to entrench their market power, and that process has hurt small and independent grocers. Could you elaborate on this testimony?
Sure thing. So, when we go to market, there's a couple of ways you can go to become more competitive in the marketplace. The first way is to be an EDLP, and I think we all know that the largest players get basically the lowest price on a regular basis. Smaller retailers like myself will pay a little bit higher on the regular basis, but then we'll have promotion prices that we pass through, or called allowances. There's also shopper marketing dollars, slotting dollars, so on and so forth, that the consumer packaged goods try to deliver to us. During the pandemic, because of the demand, they didn't want to promote anything, and as a result, our cost went up. Meaning, if 4 out of every 5 weeks we pay X, but then that 5th week we can pay less, we can buy in, we can be more efficient, and we can try to flex and compete. Well, during the pandemic, we definitely had no ability to get those deals. And consequently, our costs went up considerably higher than our competition on an EDLP basis. In addition to that, we gained market share. And why did we gain market share? Because I think consumers wanted a smaller, more convenient shopping experience, a cleaner shopping experience, a place that they could trust a little bit better. And that's all well and good, but in spite of the fact that we gained market share, the CPGs acted almost irrationally. They continued to allocate additional products to our competition who had lost that market share. Why did they do that? Why would they act irrationally, you might ask? And I think it's because of buyer power. And so they exerted some of that quasi-monopolistic power. Look, you can look at the chicken farmer in this panel who it poses a very good example, but then you can think about a major CPG like Procter & Gamble or Clorox, right? They are almost in the same boat as Ms. McClendon is when you're competing or when you're trying to sell to a huge organization like, I'll name Walmart, for example. Their power is so great that they can influence access to the products, they can influence the pricing of the products, and in the short run, it might feel like a positive impact for the consumer, but in the long run, I can give very real examples where Mr. Mann said that that it ultimately will impact the pricing, but there are in a negative way. I can tell you that.
Well, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there and ask that question. Problem. So, if in the short term these major conglomerates are able to extract lower prices, based on their concentration of power, but if that ultimately results in small businesses, small grocers going out of business, how does that ultimately impact the consumer? Isn't it logical, I believe, as Mrs. Johnson testified, that ultimately that will have an adverse impact on the consumer? Because once the competition is wiped out, the market will allow for them to dramatically increase prices.
Look, bigger isn't necessarily bad. We just are looking for a fair playing field, right? And so if they can use undue power to influence their supply, undue power then to take that margin, keep it, and apply it to smaller markets, they can wipe the small independent out of business. And at that point, and I've seen it happen, they will underserve the community with higher prices and higher out-of-stock conditions.
Isn't it also fair to say that the sort of small, more independent grocer who's got a familiarity with the communities that they serve can actually be more responsive, given the great diversity that we have in America across many different measures, as compared to if we just were served by the larger big box entities?
Mr. Chairman, I see I only have 10 seconds to answer, so I'll be quick. The answer is yes. We feel that we're very resilient and we can be very agile because we are smaller. We contract with hundreds of independent and locally owned farms to try to supplement our supply chain. We have multiple wholesalers who are, upwards of $30 billion. So we've got efficiency and we've got resiliency. And I think that ultimately could benefit us and has benefited us through the pandemic.
Thank you so much. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.